Call the Aleppo Township Commissioners meeting of February 17th, 2020 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
President Jones,
Present.
Vice President Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Dara,
Present.
Commissioner Richard,
Present.
Commissioner Haluka,
Present.
Solicitor Stone,
Here.
and Manager Patterson.
All of these meetings are recorded, and so be civil or go viral.
That's a good one. Put that on a t-shirt.
Do I hear a motion to,
Yes, I move that we approve the February 10, 2020 workshop meeting minutes.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okey-doke. I think I know why you're here. I see some familiar faces, so we're going to move that agenda right to the top.
Thank you.
And have all of you signed in? And is there somebody that would like to say something? If so, come to the podium, introduce yourself with your address. Please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try to convince you of something. My name is Elizabeth Burnett. I live at 183 Ferry Road. Our property kind of bumps up into St. Mary's, the upholstery shop, the wrestling place, and a little bit of the industrial park. So I feel that there should not be additional parking on Glenfield Road. It's fine to be here and around the municipal building. I'm A-okay with helping out Amazon. Amazon's great. I'm sure they're giving us money. But I have three reasons. One is residential. So that area and those roads are pretty small, and it's residential, and there's, you know, it's a quiet neighborhood. St. Mary's is just one of the most beautiful churches in the county. And I would hate to have that be filled up with a lot of traffic and a lot of strangers running around there. Number two reason is trash and pollution, whether it's noise pollution or urine in bottles or whatever they might leave behind. I mean, I love Aleppo Township, and it's just too beautiful of a place to mess up with that kind of stuff we don't need. And my third reason are children. So on Kilbuck Street, already people go too fast and there's too many. And even north on Glenfield Road, there is a lot of traffic when 79 people come through, and that would increase. And so there would just be, you know, a whole bunch more traffic on a road that has no shoulder. And I go jogging on there. You probably saw me waving. And so the children and the safety and, you know, a lot of strangers who I have nothing against people who are working for Amazon. But it just does not feel right to me at all to have parking on Glenfield Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you begin, has everyone that didn't attend the meeting last week watched the meeting on YouTube? So you're missing a little bit of input. We all agreed last week that everybody's on the same page. We have a problem to solve here. We don't want to create another problem there. And I think we have some progress even in the short time of a week.
Yep.
And perhaps Solicitor Stone is best able to address it.
Well, the problem arose or arises in the context of there's definitely a demand and a need for additional parking to accommodate right now Amazon, but in the future it could be to accommodate any business in the industrial park that generates significant revenue for the township, and that is in an industrial park, which, you know, is where the industrial uses are supposed to be. So in order to meet that demand, I have been asked by the owners of the park and by the commissioners to come up with a solution to the fact that we don't currently have in our zoning a provision for parking that isn't accessory to or a part of the primary structure on the lot. And so my first idea was to simply amend the ordinance to allow for that use in that district, which is a C2 district. we had a planning commission meeting to talk about that, and at the meeting, I know Fred, who's on the planning commission, and maybe one or the two others raised this concern, which has to do with the fact that not only is the industrial park in C2, and it would create additional parking in the industrial park, but St. Mary's, and there's a section along Glenfield Road that's also part of the same C2 district, and is adjacent to, or in very close proximity in some cases, to the residences, which also run along Glenfield Road. And there was some concern that by creating this use in the C2 district and not limiting it in some way, that we would be allowing that use along Glenfield Road, when really the purpose was to try and create the additional parking in the industrial park. A suggestion was made at the Planning Commission meeting, could we do an overlay? And at the time, I stated at the Planning Commission that I wasn't in favor of the overlay because, one, it involves additional steps procedurally, which is no big deal, but it also, when you start adding procedural steps, there's advertising and there's costs associated with that, and additional hearings. So I didn't think that was necessarily the shortest way to get from point A to point B. That was one reason. The other reason is I didn't think at the time that would be an appropriate use of the overlay mechanism, and if it weren't, if it were ever to be challenged, that would be vulnerable. Since that time, I've reconsidered whether an overlay makes sense, and actually when I did some reading up on the MPC, the Municipal Planning Code, and some of the related materials involving overlays, I became convinced that not only does it make sense, but if we do it the right way, it actually solves the problems of the township, of Amazon, and without interfering with the beneficial use of the property owners for their residences. So I think that the overlay, if it is done properly, and it will be, is a perfect solution to the type of problem that you have in front of you. And I strongly would recommend it. The idea behind the overlay, and then I'll be finished and you can take questions, but the idea with the overlay, the reason why I like the most recent formulation of the overlay is that we will create parking and we will target the industrial park instead of the entire C2 district. So only the industrial park will be affected by the overlay, and it will create the much needed parking. It will also benefit everybody in the township. It'll take some of the demand and some of the burden off other lots and other parking areas in the township, with the hope that once we create that parking right up here in the industrial park, that owners and users of the industrial park will make use of that parking and take it off of some of the other streets and some of the other areas of the township.
Thank you,
So
Ron.
that's it.
Please.
Yeah.
Podium, please.
I just had a question.
No, please.
Oh,
But at the podium.
oh. What do you mean overlay?
Okay. So an overlay is a zoning tool. It is not defined or referred to anywhere in the municipality's planning code, but it's become an accepted method of zoning. And we have one now in Aleppo. We have at least one called the Resource Protection Overlay, which protects certain resources that are environmentally sensitive in particular areas, I think mostly in the areas of our slopes and our steep slopes. So in order to do work in a steep slope area, to do any kind of development, you need to comply with certain additional conditions and in order to get your permit, and that's because it's in the resource overlay. The experts and the courts have defined an overlay as an overlay creates a framework for development that is superimposed over the zoning district on all or part of the municipality. So what we would do is we would take the C2 zoning district, and instead of making the whole district subject to this new parking use, we would simply target the industrial park, just like the overlay suggests, and we would superimpose the overlay on the C2. And now, to do that, it will require some additional money. We will need to engage the services of the engineer probably to do some design work and to actually.
Our engineer? Our engineer?
Yes, our engineer has the capability to do that. I've checked that out. There's someone at HRG that could help us design the actual overlay document. But the boundaries or the borders would be the industrial park. Does that answer your question?
It'll exclude St. Mary's.
Oh yeah,
Correct. Yep.
that's the whole idea. It'll draw a circle, or it'll draw a boundary around the industrial park. It'll be designated parking overlay area, and that's where we will permit this additional parking to be.
It
You
will
know-
exclude not only St. Mary's, but any area outside the industrial park.
Exactly.
Exactly what you guys actually
Please.
wanted with the lesson.
Hi, I'm Tammy Morrow, 2 Roads Avenue. My driveway is on Redgate Road. So you're going to do this overlay. So now we're going to get more traffic down Redgate Road because they still have not stopped. I don't know how many tickets they had given out, but not very many on on Redgate Road. They're throwing bottles now in my yard, pee bottles. That's just gross that they can't even go to the bathroom. They're throwing bags of trash, literally McDonald's and Burger King stuff, just put in a bag and just throw it. I keep my property pretty nice. I shouldn't have to clean up from them. So I don't know if I know last month we talked about extra patrol. I didn't see much extra patrol, I'm sorry. But I don't even like the overlay because now we're going to have 100 more trucks in Aleppo. I know they're giving you revenue in that, but so is all of us taxpayers. And I don't think we should have to put up with their stuff.
Tammy,
I know you've talked to
I think
them.
there's some additional information, and Chief, could I ask you to summarize the meeting you had with Amazon about Redgate, et cetera?
I'd be more than happy to, however.
I can help.
I was just gonna, I believe the commissioner and the township
Oh.
manager were there. I think it was probably best to come from the elected
Well, then-
official.
Sure,
Fine.
yeah. Yep,
Thanks, Chief.
and then chime in if I miss anything,
Absolutely.
either one of you. But we did, the date escapes me, but it was, because I missed a meeting since. But last month, we did meet with the representatives from Amazon to begin, the intent of that was even to begin more regular meetings to talk about concerns and issues that were brought up. And I also live on Rhodes Avenue, so I was able to speak to a lot of things from Redgate specifically, and since I utilize the bus stop with my children, I was able to do that also. Again, he's very responsive and he wants to help come to a solution. Most definitely, the young man. We talked about many of the issues, all of them really. One with the speeding was, he did speak about a system they use for their drivers on rating their drivers, and that was getting up and running as we spoke, to the point where he's able to target specific drivers and their driving scores to see how they're speeding and things like that. He gave the name of the systems.
Tachometer, like we have in the ambulance.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it sends all the data and information back to him. If they brake too fast,
Yeah.
if they do aggressive turns, if they do, and this was, he said they were just rolling this out at the time we were speaking, because they contract with 10, I think he said 10 different independent contractors who then hire their drivers. But he's able to rotate through those 10 based on their scores. If they want to stay in business with Amazon, they need to have a score that's so high that their drivers are meeting. And we're saying they are not meeting anything right now, most certainly. And he said, well, we'll be able to see that come through, and then we'll be able to let them out of their contract if they're not meeting it. So when it comes to that, there's still, of course, a lot of things that would take place as he's rolling that out and as we continue our more regular meeting. I'm guessing monthly, I think we decided on meetings with them to say, okay, well, how is it going with your rollout? How are your guys scoring? What steps are you taking to continue being a good neighbor? We also addressed just the general use of Redgate, and he couldn't fathom for the life of him either why drivers would want to use that. They are here for the Deer Run connection, not for the Redgate connection. So he doesn't even, his first guess was they have a parking lot over in Moon that they just started in September, which is when I personally noticed the increase on Redgate. Before it was pretty minimal, what I noticed. And then they have a parking lot over there that started in September, and then since then, it had increased. It got really bad over the holidays. I personally feel what I've seen, it's decreased from where it was at the beginning of January, and I've been home 2 weeks counting because of my toe, because I broke my foot. So his goal now is to educate the drivers and follow up on some signage that for his drivers to be making a left out of the industrial park, that they should not use Redgate, not be using Redgate at all. I don't think he has signage yet or anything like that, but that was what he was saying. He's saying there should be no reason, and futuristically, talking to the guys, he'll be able to see who's using Redgate and who's not. So that should factor into that. But again, that part will probably take time. No, it's okay.
Can any of us be in that meeting?
I would imagine.
Should it be a public meeting for any resident that can post what they see? And he's not out there. I know he has something on his truck, but he's not seeing trash being thrown out, or he's not seeing any of that. He can see how fast they're going,
right,
or if they're stopping. I had a car on Sunday pass me on my road, number 125, on my road, and then hit the brakes in front of me because I was going too slow up my hill. So, it's just getting ridiculous.
Yep. And if you have the car
I have the
number,
picture.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I have the picture.
Please forward it, please,
Okay.
for us to take to that meeting, so that we can follow up on that. Forward it to Gwen, and then it'll be on our agenda, for that. But yeah, we've committed to continue meetings, and also he also offered for us to attend their meetings with his other supervisors and the driver supervisors.
I also think it would be nice for us residents to have a phone number that we could actually call them and complain to them. Maybe that would help too, because there's a lot of residents that,
Right.
not just
We'll
coming from
definitely-
you, because,
Yeah.
I don't know where everybody else lives, but, I think it would be nice to have a number.
Yeah, we'll ask him.
Okay.
Most definitely. I think that's a reasonable request. Also, and Gwen, was there anything else that we talked about at that meeting? I'm trying to.
The follow-up letter.
He
Yeah.
followed up, he emailed us the follow-up, and I read it at the
Yes.
last meeting. But I can just give the quick summary. He did say that he's asked the delivery service partners to avoid using Redgate Road moving forward. They discussed it in a meeting and hope to see a significant decrease in traffic, and they're working on signage. They did go out probably 3 days after the meeting and clean Deer Run Road. They didn't do Redgate yet, but they did clean Deer Run Road. Our guys did the top half of Redgate and found what everyone is saying. They found a lot of garbage, a lot of gross garbage. So it's we believe what everyone is saying. And he did say he was willing to sit and have like a monthly meeting with Amy to keep the dialogue open.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask, as part of the agenda, about phone numbers, if they are willing to give it to some number for residents to call, make a complaint.
Yep.
And I'll take any, email me anything, any pictures. I love pictures, that really helps convey the message. So if you have a picture of a specific van that helps. So yeah, any kind of information, just send it to me and I'll collect it all and prepare it for the meetings.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do look forward to, he said in the next 2 months, he was letting go of 5 of their 10 contracts that they currently have. So there is turnover in companies that are providing that service for him.
I didn't realize that there's cars too. I thought they were just vans, but there's actual cars that have
Yeah.
Amazon stuff too.
Yes.
Because
Personal
one of the
vehicles,
ones that
actually.
bring trash
Yeah.
out.
But yeah,
Personal vehicles.
One,
Yep.
one at a time, please.
yeah.
Oh, I agree with what Tammy said.
Could you
That-
state your name? Just
Oh, Jerry Gregorich, Glenfield Road. I do agree with what Tammy said. It's a great point. As the people of the community, the citizens of the community, we should be entitled, with all the mess that's happening, to be able to sit down with the manager or owner of the company and say and express our feelings. I don't think he will get the gist of it from you guys. Not saying that you guys won't do a good job or anything like that. I think it's more personal when the people come and meet with him to express the concerns that are happening. And there are a lot, as you can hear, from different roads. So to me, I think we should be entitled to be able to do that when there is such a problem going on.
Good.
I have a question, Amy,
Yep.
the system or what arrangement, whatever he was working on, when does he think he's going to have that up?
I believe that it sounded like a 3-month cycle that they were,
as the vans were getting
correct, as they
equipped
were
with this.
changing
So
them
he didn't
over
have it.
and switching to the Amazon vans.
Oh, so it's not
As opposed to-
operational yet?
No, his,
Not fully. It's
No.
on the certain Amazon vans, but not on all the delivery partner vans.
Okay.
Correct.
My only reason for bringing it up is you might want to wait until he has that operational so you can see a little bit more data,
Right.
hard data, and save everybody's time before you bring
Yeah.
in,
and sea change, yeah.
you know, so.
Yes.
Other than that, I would suggest it's just out of efficiency and everybody's time, is wait until he has some hard data to look at.
Yes, sir. Just your name, please.
Braden Blosser. I have a question about the overlay. Okay, the question I have is, as I understand it, you're going to do this overlay to try and put more parking on North Drive, or the industrial park. Okay, who pays for the additional parking? I mean, there has to be excavation, there has to be paving, there has to be a lot of things.
Okay. So any cost associated with this, I mean, if we do the overlay, and if we create this additional parking, the actual build out and the cost for installing it and will be the developer's cost. The developer in this case would be either the owner of the industrial park, who's represented by Endurance Realty, or the tenant of the park, whoever, in this case Amazon, and whatever their lease arrangement or whatever their financial arrangements are. But it would not be the township that would be developing the parking lot. We would just be allowing the use as a matter of zoning.
Okay, thank you.
We'll even be reimbursed our cost to create the overlay.
Yeah.
That's negotiable.
That jogged my memory on another point that we did discuss at the meeting, because one of the concerns was also noise. And also one of his, the Amazon representative, one of his points was to go back to the industrial park, to the, also about landscaping and helping that the industrial park should help with some other things. And he was gonna take that back to the industrial park also. We said, because people were complaining. So that was the other point. I think that's what was bugging me, that I was forgetting.
Chris, introduce yourself.
Chris Grimm, 1255 Merriman Road. I hear a lot of people saying move it up in the industrial park. I was here when the first brick was laid for this industrial park. I lived here my whole entire life. One thing is, it's all about Amazon. There's been FedEx, there's been Pepsi here, there's been Pella Window. I don't know why they would need more parking, because how many more years are they going to be here? You know, everybody leaves here And to have an overlay or needing parking space for, just for them is just kind of, you know, okay, you're gonna build a lot, but go down Dearborn Road. That whole thing is caving in because all the water, all the pipes years ago. So how much more water can that road take going down? Then the creek down at the bottom hill, how much is that gonna take? So you have to, if you build an overlay, you have to have water going somewhere. So it's like you know, you're just doing this for Amazon, but who else are they gonna get up here willing to climb that hill in the wintertime and everything like that? Like I said, there's been so many people since I lived up on the hill here, and when they first build that, everybody says, you know, put it in an industrial park. One is because it's not in your backyard, but you know, you have to really look at the thing. How long are they gonna be here? Because they're probably already found a spot to go bigger. So if we have that there, then they're gone, and then what are you gonna do with it? You're just gonna have more places.
Do you want me to address that?
Well, just for, it's not really us, Chris, it's the industrial park.
Oh, I know that, but
Please.
Yin's guys are the board.
So, I've had some conversations with the owners of the park just about this and about some other matters that we've been working on. And I raised that with them, which was, should we be changing our zoning to create this just for you? And what do you think Amazon's plans are to remain here? Now, he said, and this is not this is not a commitment, it's not a promise or a guarantee, but he explained to me that a lot of people think that there's a new facility that's being built in Findlay, and that it's bigger, it's huge, and that eventually that's going to replace this facility in Aleppo. But he told me that strategically that's not the plan, that the bigger facility that's being built out by the airport is where the goods will come in from the airport, then they come here, and this facility here is designed specifically to get it from the warehouse to the resident in 24 hours. So this is another step in the strategic plan, but it starts at the airport, and then this is the second step, and then it goes to the resident. So in order for them to, that doesn't say they're going to be here for 20 years, but he felt that there was a misunderstanding on the part of a lot of people that this was temporary and that this facility here would be replaced by the facility in Findlay, and he's told me that's not the case. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's...
Did they take in consideration with the church being moved in too? That's going to have traffic going through Aleppo Township too?
Only on Sundays.
But they work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I mean, that's going to be, because with them putting the signs, you know, the church is going to get affected with it being, you know, probably by spring up and running.
But I think the idea behind the overlay is that it would not be permitted at the church. It would only be permitted...
You talking about the new church?
The new church.
Oh, North... Sorry.
That's all right.
And Chris, again, that's kind of Amazon's decision.
But I'm just saying that, you know, you guys got to take in consideration the traffic, because you're looking at rezoning and stuff like that. You know, we have to start looking at what's going on, you know, because more you keep on building up on this hill, traffic is just going to get worse and worse and worse. So, I mean, that's something you guys have to keep on thinking about, so we don't have to come here and kind of like haggle you and kind of get you frustrated at us, because it's like, you know, I'm not going nowhere, and I don't want to keep on coming down here and bothering you. So I just want to have it where you guys kind of understand, you know.
You're very constructive, Chris.
All right.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I think, to reiterate, the overlay appears to be a viable option. I don't think the commissioners are concerned about the administrative additional steps. And for the record, and I think I know where you're headed, we've had no request for parking anywhere other than the industrial park. And that's really not a request for parking, it's a request for improving the parking facility. Please.
My name is Fred Gregorich. I live on Glenville Road. The other option that there could be for this problem is to rezone the area on Glenfield Road that is included in the C2 area, which encompasses the industrial park and that area down there, which are really two different neighborhoods. And if you look at the zoning ordinance, there are some uses that are permitted as conditional uses and permitted uses that really wouldn't fit the area on Glenfield Road. So it might be an option for the commissioners to look at that option.
Commissioner, I mean, the one comment I have there is, I believe, and I'm not totally familiar, this would come back to the planning commission.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And you would have the opportunity to review this option 1A and also suggest option 2.
Right.
And then bring it back to us, because it seems like, well, at any rate, that would be a good process.
It would be more of a C1 district
Well,
on Glenfield Road versus C2.
so the other thing to keep in mind here is that
Right.
the other thing to keep in mind here is that we are going to be completely overhauling our zoning ordinance within the year. And it's, so there's going to, and as a member of the planning commission, you know this, you're going to be intimately involved for a long time with it.
Yeah.
I think it's possible that what you're suggesting is consistent. I think you can have a parking overlay limited to the industrial park that takes the parking problem away from the residences, puts it in the park to the extent that they need it, and at the same time, if reconsidering the zoning districts down there on Glenfield Road is worth doing, we can do both at the time that we review the zoning ordinance. They're not, my point is they're not inconsistent.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was just throwing the option out there. If you're going to spend money in engineering and go through a process to do an overlay, it could be done as a zoning change also with the same engineering and money spent.
Good.
Okay.
And again, we're not ready to act on the details.
Yeah, I understand it. I just thought I'd bring it up.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so my second question was the process from here, Mr. Solicitor.
Well, I think the next step would be you could authorize me to work with the engineers to draft a proposed parking overlay for the industrial park in the C2 district as a conditional use, and I will work with the engineer and with his design person to come up with a draft and a proposed overlay.
Second.
Did you get that, Patty? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So I think that is progress from last week, much more quickly than we thought.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you're all welcome to stay as long as you want, but I wanted to bring that agenda to the top because I assumed that's why you were here.
And
I
just-
do have one more question.
Please? And just so you know, when we ask you to come to the podium, that means it's properly recorded.
But I appreciate that.
Sure.
Jerry Gregorich, right, Ms. President? Okay, this is not on that subject. This is one other thing that has happened to Glenfield Road. They built a building down there, which is, I believe, a wrestling building,
Oh, yeah.
gymnasium, whatever.
Yeah.
If the board or whoever can talk to whoever owns it, first of all, I don't know how that got passed. Second, they did not finish any landscaping or finish out how it should look, which all of us living around we really don't need another building that is half finished. Plus the water factor. If you put some landscaping in there to grab the water and drainage, then you don't have the water going down the road to the people down the road, which is very important. I was told that they were going to do this, but they didn't, and I haven't seen anything since they've been in there that they're even going to do it. They also said there would not be a lot of parking. There is parking there. So if I don't know if you guys.
I think we
can
could
make-
request an update.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to go
No,
off.
it's okay. did you have something?
No, I made my motion.
Thank you. All right. Police report.
Oh, you know what? Sorry.
Sure.
I did want to I remember now. See, then I got off on another tangent. I did want to say, just to clarify, we did the motion for Harlan to pursue a draft, but that draft would still go back to the planning commission, correct? And then take suggestions at that point again, still more discussion, and then back here. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify for everyone that was noted.
There's a bunch of issues hanging out here. We're completely redoing the rezoning. We have an immediate problem with Amazon. We have Redgate Road. It's a big picture, but I think the more information we receive, the better, so thank you.
Okay,
Sorry, Chief.
No, that's great. Good evening, everyone. Okay, for the month of January, there was a total of 63 calls. Included in that were 31 EMS assists, 15 traffic citations, and the normal alarms and animal calls and a few other small things. All are on the website blotter page that you could always reference. It's updated basically weekly. I believe the commissioner did an excellent job in addressing the Amazon meeting that we had. I thought it was very productive. I will say, the only thing I'd have to add to that is, I go back to what I said last meeting, I don't always believe traffic citations are the issue, or the answer to the issue. We issue them? Sure, no problem, we can do that. There's just more of them than there are patrol officers out there. There's a lot more of them. So a couple of speeding tickets isn't going to mitigate the problem enough to suffice. So I look at it as what we're starting here. The meetings, us going to them coming to us. And believe me, when I walk in that building and that young gentleman sees me there, he knows he's got an issue and he addresses it very, very quickly. Again, I'm not a proponent of Amazon, but they're here and we got to work with them. I have to work with it and I'm going to do the best that I can with it. It's just going to take some time. But I do believe the relationship that we're building and opened up here seemed very receptive, and I think with the manager on, the commissioner on, and myself there, we should get a lot accomplished. I'm at least hoping to. But keep in mind, they're just not here. So I'm dealing with Amazon in Neville. I'm dealing with Aleppo Township, with Emsworth, Ben Avenue, all of my 8 jurisdictions. They have lots down all through Neville Township, and I'm dealing with that down there too. So it's an issue that I want to address without a doubt, and I want to get an answer to it. So I'm hoping that this leads into answering the problems elsewhere. Okay? Any issues, concerns, or questions from me?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Chief.
Fire Department,
No report.
Emergency Management.
Just a small report. I've agreed to help out Curtis in Glenfield, with their emergency management. So, I guess they've been trying very, very hard, to get somebody to take on the emergency management coordinator position, without success. And so they approached me. They haven't been compliant in a whole lot of years. They don't have an emergency operation plan. I've been working with them to do that. And so they asked me if I would be willing to take it on, in one of 2 ways. One way would be to merge our emergency operation plans into one. I didn't think that was wise, and I'll explain why I didn't think that, and I'm willing to hear input from you guys, that's why I want to say it. The other one is to take it on as a freestanding, separate appointment by the governor, so that I would be separately their emergency management coordinator and separately Aleppo Townships. The reason that I think that's the way to go is because it gives me clean severance. It makes it a point where if it's overwhelming, we get all that done, it's ready to go, somebody else, comes up that can take it, I can sever it very quickly without affecting Aleppo Township. So I'm more than willing to hear input from you guys, but thinking about it and looking at the paperwork and talking to Gerlach at the county, he tends to agree with me that it would be cleaner that way because of the ability to severance. Otherwise, we would need mutual aid agreements. That would take a lot more work to take apart. It wouldn't be a lot more work to put together, but I see Harlan going, it would take a lot more work to sever that, if we wanted to do that, than it would just to treat them as 2 free. And I'm not saying, obviously, we're neighboring, we touch, we whatever, and we would work together and share resources, etc. We already do that. But it might be easier to do it as two freestanding governor appointments.
Makes sense to me.
I mean, does that make sense to you, Harlan?
Yes.
Do you want some sort of blessing for that? Or you heard-
Because I'm gonna do it completely separately, I think it would probably be a bad idea to get your blessing for that, actually. I mean, well, because the
Very good.
idea is to be able to keep it separate with a working relationship. If we were gonna do it the other way, I would need more than your blessing, actually.
Right.
Public Works?
I have the report for the past month. They've been called out multiple times to salt the roads. They got the new truck, they prepared and took it up to get the new striping and lettering for the new pickup truck, so we finally have the new logo on the side of that truck. They've gotten some new sample street signs, we talked about that, they're at the corner of Weber and Parkway. We're also gonna order a couple more signs on sample signs, put them out here at the township building, because that's an easier place for people to see, and that way we can, everybody gets to vote, look at them with headlights and
They
see
look
what it
nice
looks like at night.
I went up there.
They did work on some drainage issues along School Street and, regular maintenance, and they've been doing winter maintenance on the backhoe, so they've been basically taking it apart and maintaining it and putting it back together.
And has our former superintendent officially resigned?
No, he will be retiring on March 31st.
And have we received applications to replace him?
Yeah. That closed Friday, so I have no.
It closes?
Closed it.
Oh,
Okay,
Closed
good.
it Friday.
Communications?
So I have gotten 2 emails from residents about the same topic. First one was from resident Andrea Lewis. It said she was dismayed to learn of neighboring boroughs not accepting glass and was happy that we still did. She asked for an explanation of why we no longer accept glass and why we don't fund the recycling of glass. And worries that a pop-up is not a good solution as it will be underused and glass will be in the landfills.
Who was that?
Andrea Lewis. And the second one was from Kathleen Egan, and she said, does Aleppo Township have any plans for a central recycling facility where we can recycle glass and other materials that we do not put curbside? And I replied to both of them with basically the same summary, which is explained that Waste Management is our contractor, and they removed the glass from the single stream recycling, so we don't have a vote in whether or not they will accept it. It does break during the process. So the Quaker Valley Council of Governments has a recycling committee that needs to discuss ways to solve the problem. So far, the region has not found a way to locate and fund a regional glass recycling site. Our contract price with Waste Management did not change, so we do not have an instantly ready funding stream for a glass site. But we all realize that this is an important issue since there does exist a market for glass recycling. And then I provided a couple links to PRC, Pennsylvania Resources Council, who does the pop-ups and gives some tips on glass and different things, and just kind of a way to log in and get yourself registered with PRC, and they can send you emails about glass recycling. So basically it just says I would share the email with the commissioners to let them know that the residents are concerned about glass recycling programs and that we're going to continue to try to work on it.
Good response.
Thanks, Gwen.
Planning, zoning?
There's a motion to advertise the oil and gas. meeting.
And do we have a second?
We do.
Any discussion?
None.
As you've probably all read in the Herald and others, a lot of communities in western Pennsylvania are upgrading their ordinance on fracking primarily. We are too. It will be a 2-step process. It will be one immediate step and then one coordinated with the overall zoning.
This step is to actually put the current oil and gas ordinance, which is freestanding, into the zoning code.
Correct.
Good. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Tax collector treasurer.
That report for the month of January. Summary of total taxes collected for the month of January is $18,723.97. So the real estate taxes start coming in, the bills go out March 1st, so that's when the bulk of the taxes start arriving. So you'll see a big jump in March and April in the amount of real estate taxes collected. And then the account balances for the checking account is $114,116.99. Liquid fuels fund, which is for salt purchases, $71,025.70. General investment savings, we have 2 accounts in there, and that's $889,297.10. The reserve fund is $109,301.60. The capital improvement fund is $712,676.69. Removing some of the pledged and targeted funds from net operating funds of $1,309,000 $3,414.09.
And the year ends are compiled?
They are compiled, you got that, but Clay and I would like to meet to go over, and with you too, George, if you'd like to go
Right.
over the findings before we start the audit process. A couple little things to clean up just in the evening.
And for our newer commissioners, if you look on the bar charts, the bar graphs, that is a real simple up or
It's
down.
known as the Jones Report.
Yeah, I looked at it.
Simple. All right,
Quick.
finance. Do I hear the following 1, 2, 3 motions?
Go ahead.
I motion to approve the January bill list in the amount of $62,448.01, and to ratify the January prepaid bills in the amount of $11,295.98, and to ratify January payroll transfer in the amount of $16,007.82.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I hear Roman numeral 2?
Motion to transfer $14,816.37 from the liquid fuels fund to the general fund for the payment of road salt invoices.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So be it. Next.
Motion to transfer $1,847.11 from the liquid fuels fund to the general fund for the payment of road salt invoices.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aleppo Township Authority.
I think the only thing I have to report is that I anticipate we'll finalize our 2020 budget at next Thursday's meeting now that we've resolved the contribution from the bond refinance.
But we didn't pass that.
Thought we did.
No. So why don't you move the 35?
And move that $35,000 from the bond refinance funds be transferred to the Aleppo Township Authority to be added to the budget for replacing water meters.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question, may I?
Yes.
Mr. Commissioner Darrow, the bond that you just refinanced, okay, does that mean we're gonna keep paying for this bond for the rest of our
Want me to
lives?
deal with
Yeah, the- Commissioner
No.
Jones is the bond
Oh,
refinance.
shame on you.
Two things. When the sewer bonds were first issued, the rates were relatively high because Aleppo had never borrowed that amount of money. So this is not an extension of the term, this is a reduction of the interest. And we were holding a certain amount of money in abeyance until the Masonic lawsuit was settled, because there were obvious...
Is it settled now?
It's settled.
Oh, good.
And so now that that's settled, we took that reserve fund and we're allocating it where we think it's best used. 35,000 of that reserve is going to be best used to help the water authority replace meters, which are aging.
Yeah.
So, no additional expense, just a reallocation of some reserves.
I was just afraid, because every time I look at my bill, there's another charge, like now I'm helping Swickley pay for their stuff, and they don't help me pay for anything.
Well, and in addition, it appears that we're going to refinance a portion of the bonds again.
I'm moving.
No, that'll be a good thing.
Oh, okay.
It's bringing down interest rates.
But in addition, Commissioner Darragh can tell you that we've had a meeting with Swickley's new engineer, and changes are coming because they would like to shut their wastewater treatment plant down.
Yeah, I read that. Oh, well.
Right.
As long as my bill goes down, I'd appreciate it.
We asked for a guarantee that would happen. And then we-
They said no. I think the thing you can look forward to is that we will do our best not to have them go up.
Yeah. Does the authority have meetings?
Wait one
Yes.
second. Can we pass the motion first?
Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
The Township Authority Board meets monthly on the fourth Thursday at 6:30, right here.
Okay.
And Commissioner Dara is the current president of the authority,
I know that.
and we brought some good talent onto the authority boards. All right, anything else, Commissioner?
Sounds like we're gonna bring some more talent into here.
Or a mouth.
Ambulance authority. Oh, I'm sorry, jeez.
You're
Sorry.
forgetting, George. There you go. Here's the report from the ambulance.
I'm going to report on Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority. Both Valley and Quaker Valley Ambulance have passed the triannual Department of Health licensure. It's a state inspection that they have to go through. There's a list of equipment and everything that every ambulance has to stock, all the medications and whatever. And then the governing body of EMSI comes out and they inspect everything to make sure everything is in working order, that nothing's expired and things like that. So that's what that is. And they passed very well. Valley also received a grant from the Gaming Economic Development Fund that was submitted for them through Representative Valerie Gatos for $75,000. And that will be used to repave the parking lots over at the ambulance service. They're in dire need. They haven't been done for many
Tell them the truth, when's the
years.
last time they were repaved?
Judy and I, with our
Physically
shovels,
repaved.
threw stuff on there. Yes, we did. That was when we were younger.
That was the last repaved.
There is an annual fund drive that Valley and Quaker Valley both do to try to raise some money. This past year, 2019, they received about $35,000 and about 475 people donated. And that's usually about what they receive. Just a little summary of 2019. Ambulance trips that Quaker Valley had were 1,358. Wheelchair van trips were 867 with a total of 2,225. Refusals, that's whenever the ambulance goes out, they go, someone's called for the ambulance and the patient doesn't want to be transported. There were 135 of those. Lift assists, there were 50 over the last year. That is, whenever someone goes home from the hospital or someone falls out of bed and they can't get back in, or they can't get into their house for whatever reason because there are steps, you can call the ambulance and they will come and help you get in there. So there were 50 times they responded in Aleppo for that over the past year. They were canceled 42 times and no patient was found when they got there 41 times. And that's always something. Someone also called the ambulance and you'll take off and get there and the patient's gone by then. Some of the issues that the ambulance is facing right now is, number one, with the construction that's going to occur at the Swickley Bridge in the spring here, they had to make a plan to figure out what they were going to do because there were times that the bridge would be closed and their base is on the Coriopolis side of the river. So they're going to be housed at the Cochran Hose Company. They'll be able to use that and they'll probably have 1 or 2 ambulances sitting on this side of the river anytime the bridge is going to be closed. So that plan is already taken care of. So the other thing is, and this is for every ambulance service, is retention and recruitment. It's so hard anymore to try to get medics and EMTs. What they get paid is not all that much. It's almost like a stepping stone. You'll get someone, you'll get them trained, and then they go on to something else. They find other things to do. So they're trying to up the salaries, they're trying to, have better benefits or something to entice new people to come in. So that's one of the big challenges right now, and also trying to get monies in to sustain themselves. There's quite a few ambulance services I just read in the paper on Sunday that are thinking about going out of business. So that's going to be a challenge. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, and we're glad to see that you're standing.
I am standing. It was a
First day out with the dog.
I have something to add.
Sure.
You're just, no, thank you, you just reminded me, the Swickley Bridge is going under construction. And I believe I forwarded the email, but I can't exactly remember. I-79 Neville Island bridges, this year are going to go underneath an extensive reconstruction.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
I-79 Neville Island bridges are gonna go underneath an extensive reconstruction project.
Okay.
I can't remember, did I forward that email to you?
You did it, but I got it from PennDOT.
Oh, did you get it? Okay, it's very descriptive.
And playing phone tag with a representative from PennDOt, so we're gonna catch up.
Do we know
Hopefully
the
tomorrow,
Swickley bridges?
because I'm concerned, just.
You have to go all the way to
Make sure
McKees
our
for us
Yes, they
to
know it.
cross the
down to
river.
the bottom of the hill,
Or
and I wanna clear
Yeah.
out.
Or
Yeah, that's
Ambridge or McKees Rocks.
McKees Rocks or Ambridge, that's it.
A trip around from Moon to here just went from 9 minutes to about 45 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know the starting date, they didn't put it in the email blast that I received. They just showed where they'd be shutting down lanes. It mainly affects a lot of Neville Island residents, obviously, but the overflow's just gonna,
It affects the cross.
yeah, and then
It's gonna
Swickley
affect
Bridge
Amazon.
at the same time, perhaps,
There you go.
is,
PennDOT
yeah,
was-
oh yeah.
PennDOT was very proud of their plan for people who were getting from Sewickley to Moon and Moon to Sewickley,
And using the 79 bridge?
using the 79 bridge, yes.
Yeah. So I'm sure the state has some kind of plan in place of how, it's mainly gonna be at nights
So
and on,
sure.
on nights and on the weekends is primarily when the real work's gonna be done, but it will, just as a heads up, that is coming down the road.
Iowa Township boats, I see. them.
Yeah, we'll be crossing.
Yeah.
I see them coming.
Bringing good news.
Quaker Valley Cog?
Nothing at this time.
And I'll just say that Susan provided a list it's in your packet of the
Yeah.
various CDBG grants, but we're not eligible for many of the programs, so we didn't.
No.
So.
We tried, but it doesn't work.
Solicitor?
No report.
Unfinished business. Do I hear a motion to accept the bid from W.D. Wright?
You have a motion to accept the bid of $47,176 from W.D. Wright Contracting for storm sewer repairs along Deer Run Road, subject to the receipt of acceptable performance and payment bonds.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we need can we do it all in one
Yeah.
motion, Gwen?
You can, yeah, they don't have to be separate motions, you can exonerate
Right.
the following taxpayers and just read the name and the,
All right.
Read it all
This is
out.
relative to the tax
The volunteer
rebate.
fire.
Read their
For the-
address too, or just the name and the
Just the
amount?
name.
Just the name.
Move to
The amount?
refund the following 2019 real estate taxpayers under Act 172. Charles W. Davis Sr. for $117.31. Charles W. Davis Jr. for $71.76. Justin Davis for $116.21. Josh J. Grimm for $57.01. Louis Hassan for $144.35. Bruno Russo for $116.14. And Tim Scott for $106.33.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Done. I think we've addressed Amazon. Discussion of zoning ordinance C2 parking regulations, we've already done. New business, LGA intern program.
so we got one. Between the last meeting and now, I worked with Susan Huckleberry at the COG, and she helped write the application for us and helped, figure out the plan for us. So we're gonna share an LGA intern with Glenn Osborne and Kilbuck, and this is gonna be an intern who's gonna help us with our GIS data collection, and will be shared among the 3 communities, so we will only have to use them for a third of their time and fund them for a third of their time, and LGA covers half of their time. And I did budget some money in the budget, I budgeted $2,000 in the budget for an intern for the summer, hoping, and so we got one, so I have a meeting coming up, a mandatory meeting, I don't remember the date exactly, but at the end of February to go learn about what my responsibilities are as a participant in this program, so I'll just keep you informed.
That's
Okay.
great.
Citizen participation.
Here comes Chris. Hi, Chris.
And then I'll have to add something at the end after,
The one,
but yeah.
You good?
You're up.
Okay. Chris Grimm, 1255 Merriman Road. One thing I like, if you guys can pass on, I don't know who put the stop signs down at the bottom of the hill at, the intersection Deer Run.
Yeah.
I like them. So I gave you one compliment now. The other thing too
Here goes
is,
the other half. Where do you live again, Chris?
Right next to me.
since the summer months are coming up, I still have a storm drain issue going into my yard with water. My parents had that when they owned the house. I currently own the house now. I would like to see no pine needles, no water, and everything else. They currently, through the winter, when I talked to Gwen, they actually dug a trench to kind of keep it away from the house from going into the basement. That's fine when I'm not cutting the grass. But when I have to cut the grass, it's going to be a big pothole for me. So, I don't know what the solution, or if the township's responsible for it, or if I'm responsible for it. But I don't want to deal with it as long as my parents have dealt with it.
Gwen, do you have any update?
I don't have an update, but we'll revisit it.
We'll get an update.
All right, hey,
Yeah.
thanks.
Is this water that's still flowing out of, is it Nancy Drive?
Yes, the one that you saw last year
Yeah,
when
okay.
you're walking.
It's the storm drain that's not really a storm drain because it shoots right over it?
Yes, because it used to go out into the soccer field years ago and everything just clapped on age and just sunk down in the ground.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And then we have one other item of new business.
Oh, wait, you have somebody still.
That's
Oh.
okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah,
The rest of
now I'll
citizens.
come back.
Now you're up.
This will be quick. Dan, would you like to read this one?
Motion to adopt resolution amending the calculation methodology of the unfunded actuarial accrued liabilities of the police pension plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Tammy.
Tammy Morrow, Two Roads Avenue. I want to discuss Redgate Road again with the water issue. They built that new house up from Sam Traps. I don't know what they did, but they never put pipes in there, so all their water runs on our road. So it runs down and it hits the doctor's driveway, which meets, comes over into my driveway, down on into my yard, now into my basement. We've talked to, I talked to Gwen, and I also talked to Muzzy and them. Nothing was done. So Russ put some cement bags and watered them, so it's hard there. But the water now is going around those, down onto the driveway, and still in my yard. So I don't know what you can do about, as soon as it rains, the doctors, all that gravel comes down that great big long driveway and washes all over the road. I don't know what can be done with those two houses, but the water is really bad.
And this is from the new house, the new
The
white
new-
brick house?
Yeah, that one a lot, but then when it rains really hard, it comes down off of that hill where the doctor owns, and down, and those
Ruts,
two melt, yeah.
Okay.
And then it just comes right over where the road's all broken there. So that's why Russ thought if he put the cement bags in there, it would at least help where the road's broken. But now it's just starting to go around and down into,
Commissioner
The yard.
Richard, could you
Correct.
describe some water on Redgate?
Yeah, correct. So remember the
Kayaks
meeting,
and
I
all.
showed everyone the picture of us kayaking in my backyard? Yes, yeah, very aware of that issue. I think Judy had a problem with her car being moved even from the
We're dealing
amount
with
of
three
water.
houses on Rhodes Avenue, and my car actually floated down the driveway.
Yeah, so it's not, I think it goes back to something we talked about before too, Gwen, when they were fixing the part that they fixed,
Amy,
the barrier. PennDOT.
That's the key,
Yeah,
part of the key
correct,
issue
is
is the
PennDOT.
PennDOT road.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I understand that. But it's actually coming down the doctor's driveway.
That's the doctor's driveway.
Yeah.
It's not a municipal road.
No, but
But it lands
if
on our road.
there's drainage that's supposed to be caught somehow from a property, they're not supposed to be able to just shoot stuff onto the road. So we'll look into it. I don't know what the answer is, but we'll
Yeah.
definitely, our guys will check it out.
Well, I know
and
the answer.
see.
But if it originates on personal property, it's personal property,
Right.
I get you, Harlan.
But it's,
Absolutely
you can
get
send a letter saying,
Yeah,
fix your personal property.
Okay.
Years ago,
Code letter, code enforcement.
when they did the road, when they put those big sewer drains in, they put a lip along both sides of the road.
Yeah.
Well, now, since the water's coming down so much, mainly from that new house, I don't know what kind of drainage they didn't put in there, but that washes down, so now it's cracking all those lips, and we don't have any more lips, so now it's coming into your
Correct.
road
So-
and
Yeah,
into.
PennDOT actually, we
snakes.
met with PennDOT about that, on a personal level, and their answer was they can't keep building up that curb, because as they build up the curb down Redgate, they just move the water from my problem to your problem,
Correct.
to Amy's problem, you know, down to, all the way down to the bridge, it becomes everybody else's problem, and so they don't wanna keep building those bumpers and just moving that water problem down Rhodes Avenue.
But it worked really great, it
So-
went right into all the sewers years ago.
So Tammy,
If
can I,
it's a new,
can I?
it was a new house, didn't it have to have a site water management
Yeah,
plan?
yeah, well, yeah, plus, you know, if there's water coming off private property, that's generally the responsibility of the private property owner, the upstream owner who's channeling the water, or have you spoken to the owner of the property to see if they're willing to do anything?
I didn't think that was my place, I thought that would be the commissioner's place, because it's on a road.
No, I would
We
say
can't
it's the
enforce we
opposite.
can't enforce private property.
There's
But
no.
it's going on the road.
Actually, if their debris from their driveway is
On the
gonna go
road.
on the road,
Which it is.
but it's a PennDOT road.
But the
it's
road is a PennDOT road.
That's,
That's not even a
PennDOT has
road.
to address it.
But
I'm not
our
seeing.
public works people take
If the
care of the
private
road.
property is the source of a nuisance. It's a private matter between the folks who are being affected by the nuisance and the person who's created and causing the nuisance.
Yeah,
You
I'm
would
not, I'm
literally
not,
end up at a magistrate's or something.
I'm
you
not
know?
seeing a role for the municipality in this particular situation. I think it is probably a private property owner's responsibility, but we can look into it.
The only reason why I'm saying is you gave them the permits to build the house there. And there was never any water there before. Now the house is there and all the water's on the road, creates ice. It's
Well,
just a hazard.
I don't know what kind of permitting was done, what kind of
I don't
applications
either.
were made, but I do know that the end result is seems to me there's a excess water runoff from private property onto the state road.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure that there's any violation of the township code
Well,
that we could.
it's worth investigating and looking at whatever permits were issued, because certainly would expect today, if you were gonna issue a building permit, there'd be site water drainage required as part of the permitting process. And if that wasn't done, then
Are the neighbors reluctant to talk to this new owner?
Well, I don't think any of us, I mean, have you talked to him about, or you've talked to him?
No, I have not.
Yeah,
Because I see
didn't
water
either.
coming from everywhere, not just there. It's a problem we all, no one's special in the thing. I feel like they have the same problem I do. You have the same problem you know that.
But it's created by those two. If you're coming down Redgate Road, it's created by the new White House and the doctor's steep house, because that's where all the gravel comes from.
Right.
Let me
Because there's
revise
two
my
houses
opinion a
going
minute
down.
ago, because Dan mentioned, or Commissioner Dara mentioned something which, we do have a new stormwater management ordinance. And it might apply to private property. So that is something we can definitely look into.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The other thing I was thinking is that, is there any way that the chief of police can draft a letter to the homeowner, because there is a law about debris on the road and it's coming from his driveway?
It seems to me the route that they're talking about the water mitigation, is the best route to go. That's typically an ordinance violation.
I understand it. The thing is that the residents are a little bit reluctant to address it with the homeowner, because everybody, you don't want to make anybody mad. But, and the
you
township
sent the
can't do
police to the
anything.
guy's door with.
Yeah, it doesn't rise to a criminal.
Tammy, we will look at what the permits were, we'll look at the new stormwater, but I can tell you, I also encourage anyone with the water problem on Red Gate, have a coffee sometime and see what happens, because that's gonna be the most direct route.
Absolutely. Yep, strongly.
That's not
And-
Call PennDOT.
Yeah.
I've tried.
Yeah.
All right, any other citizen participation? Then we are adjourned.